Pirate Eye was dug up by Robin, Chapter 21-40. Chapter 21 Dragon, Fist, Burst, Hair. Rumble rumble. It was the earth shaking and roaring. From far to near, the vast desert land seemed to be revived, dancing its huge body recklessly. The desert is like the sea. Or in a sense, the desert is also an ocean. A sea of sand. There are waves in the sea. There are sand waves in the desert. Crocodile, the rustling man who ate the ability of Logia rustling fruit, seemed to be one with the whole desert at this moment. He seemed to be the lord of the desert, controlling everything under his feet. The boundless yellow sand ground cascading waves under the waving of his hands. From the first meter to 10 meters, 50 meters, and even the last 100 meters. The sand waves under the control of Crocodile rose against the storm, and soon turned into a terrifying desert tsunami that was 100 meters high. Such a huge amount of sand, if it overturned, would be enough to bury a city. The sight is terrifying. That Crocodile can still use the power of the desert. Uncle, what should I do next? Robin looked in shock at the desert tsunami that was already 100 meters away on the other side and was still rising, and looked at Llewellyn anxiously. Don't be nervous, little girl Robin, the bells and whistles are just bluffing. Roland's warm big hand fell on top of Robin's head and rubbed lightly. Under the comfort of Roland's head touching, Robin's terrified and restless heart gradually recovered. The body inexplicably gave birth to a strong confidence from the inside out. Not to himself, but to Roland. It seems that as long as this person is there, even if the sky falls, it is no longer a big deal. Robin nodded heavily. Goo tilde ha tilde ha tilde ha. Crocodile stood alone at the top of the desert tsunami more than 100 meters high, smiling proudly and confidently. At this moment, his inner self-confidence is constantly rising and strengthening like this desert tsunami. Now he is invincible. Under his ultimate move, no one can survive. Crocodile thought confidently, and a cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth unconsciously. The humiliation he had suffered on that ship before, he now had to pay back double. What a alabasta plan. What historical text translation ability. Go to hell with me. You bastards, do you have any last words to explain? Crocodile stared coldly at the crowd on the Gustav, as if he was already winning. Click. The bow of the Gustav, Roland finally moved. Feet on nothing, no, more precisely on the air. Under his feet, the air seemed to be a solid staircase, carrying his body up and down step by step. Marine Rokushiki moon step, no, it's a little different too. Crocodile's pupils shrink. First, Hawkeye above the Conqueror, and now the airwalk above the moon step. What the hell is this bastard? Seeing the special moon step revealed by Llewellyn, Crocodile frowned for some unknown number of times today, and even his strong inner self-confidence was shaken. No, now is not the time to think about these things. Today is either his death or my death. Crocodile stared at Llewellyn, who was dozens of meters away, with a sinister expression, and slowly clasped his right hand. Sand, storm, big, burial. Crocodile uttered a word, and spoke coldly. Boom. The next second, the desert tsunami erupted. The endless waves of yellow sand were like incarnations of a giant beast, leaping out following Crocodile's instructions, wanting to devour everything in front of him. This was Crocodile's strongest blow in his life. He poured out the strength of his decades of training, the in-depth development of the Sha-Sha fruit ability, and the most important blessing of the desert land. Even an army of more than 100,000 people will be destroyed in an instant under his shocking move, and there will be no burial. Not to mention dozens of people. That's how it should be. However, when he saw dozens of meters away, Llewellyn clenched his fist. Crocodile's heart aches for no reason. The sudden appearance of a great panic instantly destroyed his self-confidence and made his face stiff. Under Crocodile's wide eyes and Robin's earnest gaze, Roland in midair finally moved. Crackling. That was the sound of Llewellyn's muscles and bones being fully stretched out. At the same time, when Llewellyn swung his right fist, the surrounding air exploded. I am with the power of a national treasure, for 36 years. How strong is your punch? Even Roland himself didn't know much about this. But the answer will soon be revealed. Crocodile's stiff face dozens of meters away, Roland grinned isho and finally punched. Ang roar. With a punch, there seemed to be a roar of a fierce beast that had crossed over from ancient times. Vaguely, there seemed to be a huge tyrannosaur phantom running out of Llewellyn's fist, releasing the most powerful aura, shattering all obstacles in front of him. Dragon, fist, burst, hair. Boom. The world is vast. Everything is invisible. ... Chapter 22 Rolling Robin was stunned. Rumble rumble. At this moment, the heaven and earth made a violent roar. That was the terrifying burst of air that Roland's fist swung. Punched out like a falling star. A dazzling flame flashed across the sky. At first it was a huge fist. But in the next second, it turned into a huge ferocious Tyrannosaurus phantom that seemed to be able to swallow even the heavens and the earth. Ang roar. It seems that the ancient Tyrannosaurus Rex, which has crossed the limitations of ancient time and space and came to the contemporary era, uttered a shocking roar. With an absolutely indomitable aura of ferocity, it bit towards the desert tsunami caused by Crocodile. The unparalleled boxing style seemed to drive the general trend of heaven and earth, and instantly overwhelmed the terrifying desert tsunami. Boom. The most violent collision occurred at this moment. The sky and the earth are vast. Endless yellow sand burst. The waters of the Sandora River also made huge waves and thrust into the sky. Everything is invisible. I don't know how long has passed. The world gradually returned to peace. The buzzing in people's ears diminished. The waves of the Sandora River subsided. The Gustav on the river also recovered. At the bow of the boat, Robin, who was thin and thin, was holding on to the rail of the boat, his knuckles turning white, and there were bursts of stinging pain. In this regard, Robin seems to have no idea. A pair of beautiful eyes just glanced anxiously in the sky, looking for the back that gave her infinite peace of mind. However, the result was nothing. How? For a moment, Robin seemed to have let out all his strength, and his little face turned pale. What's the matter, little girl Robin? The next moment, a familiar voice sounded in Robin's ears without warning, making Robin's darkened eyes suddenly brighten up again. Turning around, Llewellyn's voice and smile that made her so cordial were still there. Not even the slightest trace of a fierce battle could be seen on him. On the other hand, Shichibukai Crocodile, who was randomly thrown on the deck by Roland, was covered in blood and looked extremely miserable. Seeing such a scene, how could Robin not guess that the previous terrifying confrontation was not as intense as she imagined? It's not evenly matched, but Roland's unilateral crushing. Thinking of this, Robin's inner unease completely disappeared. Hum. Robin snorted softly and put his hands on his hips. Uncle, why are you always worrying? You didn't say a word to catch Crocodile, which made me search for a long time. Robin complained in a low voice. Hee hee. For Robin's unnecessary worries, Llewellyn Isho did not explain too much. After all, Robin's worries were based on his lack of understanding of his strength. Worry a few times now and get used to it later. Uncle, what do you do next? Crocodile, who had been beaten to death by Roland's punch on the deck. He was seriously injured and passed out. He had a new understanding of Roland's power. Maybe, probably this Vice Admiral wouldn't be powerless to fight back even if he met Marine Admiral. But Robin wasn't dead enough to try to prove it. The main problem now is Crocodile. A heavy rain disrupted the 3-year-old Utopian Dreamland campaign that Baroque Works had been preparing for. Now the president of Baroque Works is also cool. Alabasta's crisis has been resolved. The remaining question now is what to do with Crocodile and Baroque Works. There are 3 options in front of Roland. The first direct secret deal with Crocodile, 100. The remaining leaderless Baroque Works will not be able to become a climate, and it will split itself. Second, as the original plot generally allows Marine to clean up the mess. That would be too much trouble. It's not that things are troublesome, but that it's too troublesome for Roland. Although Roland does miss those old friends in Marine. But now is not the time to meet. Besides, if he was entangled by those guys from Garp, Rollins would be annoyed to death. Then there is only a third option. Rollins made a decision. Since we have to fight with the behemoth of the world government. So first of all, you have to form a force of your own. Although Long's revolutionary army has gradually matured, it is not Luo Lin's own force after all. Even if Long didn't mind something like picking peaches on the way, Luo Lin didn't bother to do it. Although looking at the whole Crocodile's Baroque Works is at best a third-rate force. But with Roland's command, the situation is bound to be very different. When he heard Luo Lin's thoughts and plans, Robin's beautiful eyes widened in shock, and his small mouth opened into an O shape, completely stunned. I thought I was going to get out of the place where I stayed for 6 years, but it turned out to be back to where I started. However, Robin looked thoughtful. Indeed, compared to being alone, forming a huge force is more conducive to the search for historical texts. I see, Uncle, I'm going to contact the senior agents of the work agency for a meeting now. Robin nodded, thinking about it in his heart. After deciding to do this, a perfect plan instantly appeared in her mind. In Crocodile's cool time, taking over Baroque Works is an easy task. Miss S fingers in the Spider-Man cafe through the phone bug, conveying the time and location of the senior agent meeting. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, Dream City Rain Land Collection. ... Meanwhile, the port city of Naroha in Alabasta. Lord Vivi, please think again, we'd better go back to the palace to discuss with Lord Cobra before making plans. Igaram, who had short aristocratic hair, advised. Igaram, don't worry, I won't mess around. Just go to the rainy area to see, you can go back to the palace first. The girl with blue hair said, pulling down her hood. Kuro, let's go. Ga. ... Chapter 23 Shocked Vivi Igaram Heart Hero. Tatata. On the vast desert that stretches as far as the eye can see, 2 large yellow ducks, bigger than a human being, are galloping in tandem on the sand. Really, galloping. Because of their speed, almost only 2 afterimages can be seen. This unique breed of large yellow duck is the super-fast running duck unit dedicated to the Alabasta royal family. Although it is a duck, it has feet faster than a leopard and is the fastest animal in the entire Alabasta. Vivi, who set off from the port, and the captain of the guard Igaram. As the guardian captain of the kingdom, how could Igaram really return to the palace alone, as Vivi said? Vivi has been willfully allowed to sneak into Bakuro 2 years ago. He must be responsible to the end and protect the safety of the princess at all times. From the port city of Naloha to the present, they have been running non-stop for nearly 7 hours. Lord Vivi, let's find a place to rest for a while, and then formulate some emergency measures. We can't just rush into the rain and question Crocodile. Igaram suggested. Okay. Vivi didn't hesitate to follow the advice of guard captain Igaram. The 2 super-fast running ducks gradually slowed to a halt at the foot of a raised dune. Kalu, you've worked hard. Vivi gently touched Captain Quick Run Duck, who grew up with him. Ga. Duck Captain Kalu happily fluttered his wings like human arms, and his head rubbed his head on Vivi's arm. Sir Vivi, you should also sit down and have something to eat. Igaram said, who set up a fire and started cooking. Vivi sat down. Igaram, are you really over? I'm not dreaming, Vivi asked softly. She still felt like she was in a dream about the heavy rain at noon after 3 years. It's true, Lord Vivi, it's really raining, although I don't know what happened, but this heavy rain is a life-saving rain for us Alabasta. Igaram laughed heartily. But, What I'm worried about now is Baroque Works. That Crocodile is still brewing some other bigger conspiracy. Vivi said uncomfortably. Lord Vivi, don't think about it so much, at least today's reign is worth celebrating. Laughing at Isho happily, well tilde tilde well tilde tilde tilde, Eulogizing explained. Vivi nodded, and gracefully took a small mouthful of the dry food in his hand. Dong 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 dong. At this moment, the desert earth suddenly trembled slightly. Heavy footsteps came from the southeast. It was a huge turtle. That's. After recognizing that the tortoise was Binch, the land and water transport tortoise exclusively used by Baroque Works, Vivi and Eulogizing immediately became vigilant and quickly extinguished the fire. However, it seems a little late. The turtle Binch, who was still a little off from the direction they were in, suddenly turned around and ran straight towards them, apparently discovering their existence. Master Vivi, get on the duck quickly, leave it to me here. Eulogizing made a decisive decision to let Princess Vivi leave first. How could Vivi, who has always cared about love and righteousness, listen? Boom dong dong. The heavy footsteps of Binky the turtle drew nearer. After dozens of seconds, the big turtle Binky stopped abruptly at the last 10 meters from the two of them, causing the sky to fly. Cough cough. The two of Vivi coughed a few times, waved their hands to disperse the yellow sand, and their eyes were firmly locked in the carriage on the turtle's back. The next second, the curtain of the carriage was lifted. When they saw the tall and slender royal sister appearing from the carriage, Vivi and Eulogizing suddenly widened their eyes nervously and in shock. You are Missile Sunday, Vivi exclaimed tenderly. You are. On the carriage, Robin, who had followed Luo Lin's instructions, was obviously still out of shape. When he saw Vivi not far away, Robin was stunned for a while, but he quickly reacted. Miss Wednesday and Mr. 8 Inches. Well tilde tilde well tilde 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 Missile Sunday, Miss and I were on a nearby mission on Wednesday, and we never thought we'd run into you. Mr. 8 pretended to be calm. Oh, yes, but I don't remember giving you a mission, and your partner isn't Miss Wednesday, right? The dark-bellied Robin said with a smile, deliberately teasing the two of them. Under Robin's eyes that seemed to see through everything, Eulogizing's back was suddenly covered in cold sweat. Don't be too nervous, Alabasta, Princess Vivi and the escort captain, Mr. Eulogizing, have been undercover in Bakuro for 2 years, so they should learn to stay calm. Robin said. In one sentence, the true identities of the two were pointed out. As early as 2 years ago when Vivi joined Baroque Works, Robin, who was in charge of coordinating everything, recognized the true identities of the two in the photo. It's just that she is not really loyal to this organization, so she is naturally not obliged to help, catch bugs, and even promoted Vivi unknowingly, wanting to see what surprises they can bring. But now, it is not necessary. On the other hand, when he heard Robin casually reveal their true identities, Vivi's eyes widened, and the expression on Eulogizing's face froze instantly, so nervous that he couldn't breathe. Does she know who we are? She always knew who we were. Boom dong dong. The sound of the beating of the heart was particularly clear in the dead desert. Okay, Robin, stop playing, you're scaring the little girls. At this moment, another voice suddenly sounded, and it was behind the two of Vivi. Could it be Crocodile? At this moment, Vivi and Igaram both had the same name in their minds. Turning around stiffly, Vivi was stunned after seeing the strange young man behind him who was touching Karu's head through the moonlight. As for Eulogizing, I only felt that my head was rumbling, as if it was about to explode. A long-term memory of more than 30 years ago appeared sporadically at this moment. He recognized that face. That's what he has in mind. Hero, ah. Chapter 24 The Smell of Vivi, 4/5 Ask for Votes. Bear. In the vast desert at night, a little bonfire is burning slowly. Fire, Alabasta's only queen, Neferutali Vivi, and the kingdom's guard captain Eulogizing were sitting on their heads, sitting around the bonfire listening to the story of the beautiful Lady Robin opposite. From Baroque Works, 3-year utopia campaign to the end of a heavy rain. Robin, who was the best at telling stories, spoke in an eloquent manner, completely grasping the minds of the two Vivi. Of course, what should be said and what should not be said, Robin grasps this very well. About the fact that Llewellyn was dug up in the underground palace in the north, and that Llewellyn took her to the Vivi family's grandfather's sleeping place not long ago. Also, about that battle between Roland and Chichibukai Crocodile. Robin talked about it for a long time. The focus was to bring out the stalwart image of Llewellyn. Of course, even the description after adding oil and vinegar is actually not as good as seeing it with your own eyes. But for the two of Vivi, it was shocking enough. Especially after seeing Crocodile hanging from the turtle's tail, half dead, seriously injured and unconscious, they completely believed it and no longer had the slightest suspicion. A story told for half an hour. Vivi and the two did not interrupt the whole process, and quietly listened to this thrilling story. During this process, the expressions on their faces are called ever-changing. From the initial anger when I learned about Baroque Works' plan to steal the country, to the shock, to the tears. Everything is clear. The truth they were looking for after spending 2 years undercover in Bakuro was revealed at this moment. It turns out that today's timely rain is not the mercy and gift of God, but the hope given to them by the man named Llewellyn. A rain pulled the entire Alabasta kingdom from the abyss called despair. This kindness is as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. Brother Llewellyn, really, thank you. Vivi stood up and bowed 90 degrees to Roland, who was sitting on the back of Kalu, the fast-running duck, and looked at the moonlight. Mr. Roland, thank you very much. I will never forget your kindness to us Alabasta. Igaram even threw a 5-body kneeling salute directly to Roland. For the series of magical experiences that he experienced today, Igaram's inner shock and disbelief were far beyond Princess Vivi's. Because he knew one more secret than Vivi, a huge secret about Roland's identity that even Robin didn't know. After seeing the hero's face engraved in his mind through the moonlight earlier, Igaram felt that his scalp was about to burst, and the long-term memory of his youth emerged in his mind. Open black lens bracket. Hey, Igaram, Mr. Roland and Mr. Garp are so handsome. Yes, Mr. Cobra, Mr. Roland is also my hero. I will learn from him in the future, but I may never become as strong as Mr. Roland and the others, but as long as I can protect Alabasta, well, that's enough. This is the conversation between the boy Igaram and the boy Cobra after the incident on the Island of God 36 years ago. Not long after this, the unknown Mariajoy incident broke out. The hero just disappeared from the world. Until today, now. In the deserts of Alabasta, Igaram sees again, seeing with his own eyes the hero in his heart. At that moment, Igaram subconsciously screamed and asked what happened 36 years ago. However, at that last moment, his lost sense of excitement returned, preventing him from calling out Roland's name. Coupled with the cooling for more than half an hour, Igaram completely calmed down. He thought of the disappearance of Roland 36 years ago and the reappearance of him now. The relationship is bigger than the sky, and it will trigger a series of major events. Absolutely nothing can be said at the moment. Igaram can restrain his mouth, but he cannot restrain his physical actions. That's why I fell to the ground like I am now. Observation Hawkeye naturally knows about the various struggles in Igaram's heart. So soon, he met someone who still remembered him, and he was still his little fanboy. Llewellyn was also subconsciously happy in his heart. At least, the world has not completely forgotten him. Let's go, Vivi and Igaram, let's go to the rain and have a good rest. Roland patted Vivi's little head. It's a great honor, Igaram answered without hesitation. Yes, thank you Roland. Brother. Vivi's fair and pretty face was flushed from Llewellyn's head-touching killing. From childhood to adulthood, apart from her father, it was the first time that she was killed by the head of the opposite sex. She subconsciously wanted to avoid her, but her body was honest and did not move. Brother Llewellyn is the benefactor who saved Alabasta. What's wrong with rubbing my head? Let alone rubbing my head. Those princesses in the book repay the prince who saved the country by themselves. From Luo Lin's casual head-to-head killing, after a series of brain-filling associations, in the end, he had already thought about where to bury it in the future. Thinking of the last, the blush on Vivi's fair and pretty face became more and more obvious. This little princess, shouldn't she really treat uncle? The subtle changes in Vivi's expression wrinkled his nose. Vaguely, she seemed to smell a faint scent emanating from Vivi. That's the unique hormonal scent that sprouts in adolescent girls. Obviously I came first. Robin pursed his lips, his expression a little appetizing. Chapter 25 Sand Crocodile, who was so angry that he vomited blood, open black lens bracket 5/5 asking for a ticket, close black lens bracket. The morning light is faint, shining through the mountains and rivers. Inland dry city of Alabasta, on the edge of El Maru, Spider-Man coffee shop. It's almost time to come, but what's going on this time? First, the heavy rain, and then the boss who sees the head and sees the end of the dragon to issue a call for all members. This time, it is estimated that it will be announced that it is very important. It's a big deal. The lady of the Spider-Man coffee shop, an elegant woman wearing a white and green pirate turban, wiped the coffee cup and whispered to herself. Ding! The bell rings. The door of the coffee shop opened, and a tall and dull man walked into the coffee shop with a dachshund and an old but heavily make-up old woman. Mr. 4, it's all my fault that you are so cumbersome and weigh on my waist. It hurts. It hurts. Baroque Works senior agent, Mole Man Miss Merry Christmas Dorothy complained. No, I'm sorry. The tall Mr. .4 Bibu was ashamed and apologized in a low voice. Oh ha 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 ha. Exaggerated laughter sounded, and a beautiful girl in a lemon-patterned dress entered with an umbrella. Behind her, a black-skinned man with an explosive head ruthlessly picked his nostrils. Hurry up and get out of the way of the slave family. Exaggerated women and booger men, don't stand in the way of the slave family. Senior agent of Bakuro, the Shemale Bentham, codenamed Mr. 2, walked in a ballet and circled. Oh, Mr. 2, your dancing is still as disgusting as ever. The thin bamboo man with a big three-shaped hairstyle on his head elegantly held a cup of black tea, sarcastically. Beside him, followed by a little loli who looked about 10 years old, carrying a drawing board and some paint on her back. Although she looks like a loli, her being eligible to appear here already represents her identity. She is also one of Bakuro's senior agents, codenamed Miss Going Joe, a natural-born superpower whose real name is Marianne. What did you say? Mr. 3, the lap dance is the most beautiful dance in the world. Bentham argued loudly, arguing with him. Okay, don't make any noise. I want to ask you what you think about the rain yesterday. Zala, the proprietress of the coffee shop, mediated in the middle. One problem was keeping the otherwise noisy high-level agents in the coffee shop silent. To be honest, when they saw the sudden heavy rain yesterday, they all had the same dazed expressions. After all, that was the plan they had worked so hard to prepare for 3 years. It was clear that they could start harvesting in a few more months, but a rain came, which made all their efforts in the past 3 years in vain. Who can resist this? If it wasn't for this call, the senior agents themselves would have gathered to put pressure on the boss who had never met before. When I get there, I'll ask the so-called boss, what the hell is going on? Dorothy, the old mole man woman, expressed the thoughts of all the senior agents present. Just then, the clock struck 8 in the morning. At the same time, a tall man with a green skin and a cold skin appeared. The last senior agent of Baroque Works, Mr. 1 Daz Bones, who used to be a bounty hunter for West Blue, arrived on time. Pop. Zala, the proprietress of the coffee shop, clapped her hands, took off her eyes, shook her hair, and said, Vinci is already in place, now let's go to that dream city. The man we haven't met yet, who calls him the boss, is still there. Waiting for us. ... There's still about a quarter of an hour before 8 o'clock in the evening. Alabasta's Dream City is full of people's voices and it is very lively. Especially the huge pyramid casino rain banquet owned by Shichibukai Crocodile in the center. It's just that people don't know that, starting from today, this huge gold-selling cave has been named Luo. There is a secret room in the basement of the pyramid. An image was projected in the eyes of the half-human high-live video phone bug, which was a group of senior Bakuro agents eating and drinking at the conference table outside. "How do you feel?" Roland asked. Crocodile, strapped to a sea-stone chair, how he felt about the organization he had worked so hard to run for others. Crocodile, who woke up from a coma, snorted coldly, his face ugly. He could naturally guess the deep meaning of Luo Lin's words. This was originally the means he was going to use on the Alabasta royal family, that is, King Cobra. However, because of Roland's appearance, everything changed. Stealing chickens will not lose rice. Before he could implement his plan, he was the first to suffer. "President, it's almost time." With her hair in a bun and a professional short skirt, Secretary Robin with high heels, knee-length black silk, and long legs appeared at the door of the secret room, pushed her glasses, and gave a professional reminder, a full secretary style. Robin's performance was so dedicated, Crocodile, who was watching, couldn't help his eyelids jumping wildly, thinking that this stinky woman had never been so respectful to him. Although he didn't care about it in the past, but at this moment, his heart was inevitably out of balance. Plus thinking about what's going to happen next. Poof! Crocodile's eyes were black, and an old wound in his body erupted, spewing a mouthful of old blood. Chapter 26 Dumbfounded Bakuro Senior Agents Open Black Lens Bracket 500 Evaluation plus more Close Black Lens Bracket. Huge Pyramid Casino Rain Feast. On the ground floor, there is a spacious space that is larger than that of a casino on the ground floor. The marble floor is also covered with a layer of precious fur blankets, which is extremely luxurious. There are exquisite lamps hanging from the ceiling, illuminating the whole underground space as bright as day. In the middle of the large underground conference room is a conference table made of precious trees. 9 people have taken 11 seats. The long table that was supposed to be used for the meeting was in a mess at this time, and the table was piled with all kinds of food debris. 1 more cup of black tea, and another pack of senbei. Miss Going Joe, a senior Pakistani Kuro agent who appeared to be no more than 10 years old, raised his hand. Immediately the next moment, a waiter brought him black tea and senbei. "Going Joe, you've already eaten 10 servings. No matter how hungry you are, you have to be a little bit more restrained. Otherwise, when you grow up and gain weight, it will be too late to regret it." Mr. 3 Galtino, who was the partner of little Loli, kindly reminded her. "The slave family has already eaten 12 octopus parfaits. Really, why hasn't that mysterious boss appeared yet? Isn't it a meeting?" Bentham, a female agent wearing a pink swan ballet costume, complained. "That's right, we've all been waiting here for over an hour. Missile Sunday has gone out of nowhere except when it first came out. We're not going to be put on pigeons, are we?" "Old woman," the senior agent Ms. said Merry Christmas, and slapped the tall man next to her. Eat, 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 eat. How many pizzas have you eaten?" "Sorry." Mr. 4, who is the tallest in stature but has the warmest personality, weakly apologized. "Everyone, be a little more patient. There are still a few minutes before the agreed 8 o'clock in the evening, and everything will be known in a few minutes," Miss said with 2 fingers to Zala. "The rules are dead, and people are alive. When they arrive, they can't show up in advance. Is our mysterious boss trying to figure out what reason to explain yesterday's heavy rain?" The old mole man guessed. "Did you say that our boss is shy? Oh ha ha ha." Miss Valentine's Day, who is beautiful and restrained, laughed exaggeratedly. "It's already at this time, it's not much fun to continue to be mysterious." Galtino sipped his lipstick and shook his head. "Indeed, it's already here. Even a fool can guess the identity of the mysterious boss we've never met, so just show up quickly. They couldn't help but say a word. Perhaps, Boss and Miss Alsunday may have prepared other surprises for us. Miss, fingered Zala with a small smile. Ta-ta. At this moment, the sound of high-heeled soles kicking on the marble floor sounded, attracting the attention of all the senior agents in the field. Sorry for keeping everyone waiting. Robin, dressed in professional secret arts, walked neatly with long legs and a comfortable smile like a spring breeze on his face. Miss All Sunday, you're finally back, where's the boss? Miss Valentine asked impatiently. The boss's words have arrived. Robin's subtle issue, the light white jade pointed to the top of the long table. It's already here. Where? A group of senior agents are wondering themselves. However, before they could ask, the next moment, the doubts on the faces of the senior agents turned into shock. Because they had already followed Robin's direction subconsciously. Boss chair with his back to them at the top of the conference table. This is. When exactly is it? Is that when Miss All Sunday appeared? Unbelievable, is this our boss? Really strong enough? A group of senior Bakuro agents were secretly shocked. As Bakuro's senior agents, they consider themselves strong enough. However, now someone quietly appeared under the eyes of the 9 of them, avoiding the eyes and ears of all of them. This seems a little surprising. Astonishing to terrifying. Mr. 1, the most powerful among them. Because the position he was sitting in happened to be the next first, the closest. However, even so, he never knew when the boss appeared. Oh ha 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 ha, he really deserves to be our boss, the president of our Bakuro, only this strength is qualified to lead us. Miss Valentine laughed. Boss, although we can guess your identity without turning around, I'm afraid it's not a good idea to keep your back to me. Galtino opened his mouth to express everyone's feelings. Indeed. Luo Lin, who was sitting high on the boss's chair, finally responded, expressing permission. The swivel boss chair slowly turned, allowing everyone to see the appearance of Mr. Zero, the president of Baroque Works. 7. Ga. Our boss really is Chiwu. Ga. In this country, there is only one person who is 7. Ga. Huh. The rainbow fart words that a group of senior agents had already brewed into their mouths came to an abrupt end. The atmosphere in the room also fell into a strange dead silence. First meeting, Roland said with a smile. ... Peas. The rules for adding updates are written, so you can't just say that this is the 6th update today. Next, there will be 4 or 5 more flowers and more, and they will all be implemented. Chapter 27 Instant Kill. Stunned. Silent. Silence. Needle drop can be heard. This is the situation of the conference room on the ground floor of Yuyan Base at this moment. It was as if the world had hit the pause button. The rainbow farts of Mr. 3 Galtino, Miss Valentine's Day and Ms. Merry Christmas just came to an abrupt end. Mr. 2 Shemale Bentham stared at a pair of exaggerated big and small eyes, and his chin was continuously stretched and touched the table. Miss Going, a senior agent of Little Lolita, opened her small mouth into an O shape, her face full of surprise. The taciturn agent number 5, the explosive fruit power user Gem's sunglasses were thrown off by his exaggerated eyeballs. ... No wonder. After all, no matter who it is, in the current situation, it will be shocked and speechless. Ever since they received an emergency call from Robin a day ago and learned that they can finally meet the mysterious boss, all the senior Bakuro agents present have been speculating about what kind of big man their boss will be. At 8 o'clock this morning, when they learned that the destination of their meeting was Dream City Rainland, the agents couldn't help but get excited. When the Turtle Bench took them to the Casino Rain Banquet, and after meeting Robin, the agents who had previously disputed the mysterious boss candidate was unified. In Alabasta doesn't know who owns the Dream City Rain. Who doesn't know who is the boss behind the huge Pyramid Casino Rain Banquet? The identity of their mysterious boss has been revealed, and there is no need to think about it anymore. However, the reality is to play a big joke with them. Just when all of them were so sure that they even dared to promise their lives that the final boss was Alabasta's hero, the mighty Shichibukai Crocodile. A surprise came. The person sitting on the boss's seat at the moment is not the Shichibukai Crocodile in their minds, but a young man who has never been seen before. Who can stand this? ... After a long silence. Call. Miss Zala exhaled with 2 fingers, but the shock on her face could not be calmed down. This really scared me. It turned out to be a real surprise, Zala murmured. She casually guessed what surprise Robin and the boss had prepared for them, but she never expected it to come true. It's just that this surprise is too stunned, it can even be said to be frightened. Hey, Miss All Sunday, our boss. Is this guy really the president of Baroque Works? I read a lot, so don't try to lie to me. Mr. Three Galtino looked at Robin and asked. That's right, Miss All Sunday, don't call anyone a boss, this joke is not funny at all. The old mole man threatened. Facing the malicious and aggressive gazes of the senior agents of Bakuro, the expression on Robin's face was always indifferent, without the slightest wave. She had expected this situation before her. Of course there is nothing to panic. What, don't you believe that he is the boss? Or do you think the person you imagined is more suitable to follow and want to betray? Robin asked a deadly question, directly gag everyone's mouths back. From the beginning to the end, except for the initial greeting, Luo Lin just sat quietly, with a slight curvature of the corners of his mouth, as he sat and watched everyone perform. Pop. Miss Valentine, who looks pretty decent, slapped her palm on the table and won the right to speak. Just when everyone thought she was going to be the first to attack, what Miss Valentine said surprised all the agents. What is noisy? What is there to be noisy? What if the reality is a little different from what you imagined? In this world, only Miss All Sunday knows the identity of the boss. Since she said she is the boss, it must be, you guys. The unseen have no say. Quote. Miss Valentine's righteous, toting enemy, speech made the rest of the agents miserable. Even Luo Lin was surprised at this time, and couldn't help but take a deep look at the carefree girl. Aware of Roland's gaze, Miss Valentine's smile suddenly bloomed. Miss Valentine. At this moment, Jem, the always taciturn bomber, took the initiative to speak rarely. You don't say that because of how handsome the guy is. As Miss S. Valentine's partner for many years, Jem knows her temperament like the back of her hand. Trash 5. What nonsense are you talking about? Is Miss Ben that kind of person? Miss Valentine blushed as she said, revealing everything. Well, it's true that this boy is not bad. The old woman mole pouted, but did not deny it. Handsome big brother boss. Little Lolita Going Joe also nodded. It is indeed a rare handsome boy, the type one like, but... Miss S. fingers and Zala S. eyes narrowed in a subtle arc. After such a mess on Miss Valentine's Day, the atmosphere in the venue changed again. Listening to the beauties in the organization except the old woman complimented Luo Lin, the male agents present except the she-male suddenly felt uncomfortable. Swish. Finally, someone moved. Whether you are qualified to be our boss, just try it and you will know. Grim opening of Daz Bones, the number 1 ranked best agent of Bakuro. Kang. Chilling light. That's Daz Bones' body, but also his weapon. Daz Bones, who has the ability of Paramesha to cut fruit quickly, can freely turn all his parts into steel blades. Under the collective gaze of the crowd, Daz Bones shot. The right arm turned into a knife, and he chopped it down towards Luo Lin's head without leaving his hand. Roland didn't seem to notice this. Just when a group of senior agents thought that Luo Lin was about to fall to the ground, a terrible thing happened. There seemed to be a sword light shining in the underground conference room. The next moment, the mighty Daz Bones flew backwards at an extremely terrifying speed as if it was hit hard, and finally hit the wall heavily, making a loud bang. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Chapter 28 Shocked to the ground. Ah! When the situation in front of the conference table was changing rapidly, and Daz's bones, sharp arm knife slashed towards Llewellyn's neck, Vivi, who was also in the secret room on the first floor underground, couldn't help but let out an anxious scream. Bainen's slender hands covered his eyes subconsciously and didn't dare to look any further. Master Vivi, don't panic, Mr. Roland is very strong. There are not many people in this world who can hurt him. Although Mr. One is strong, he wants to hurt Mr. Roland. Igaram shook his head with a confident smile, and continued, absolutely impossible. Next second. The live broadcast screen was occupied by a bright and dazzling light. The picture was restored. Llewellyn was still sitting calmly, but the aggressive Daz bones had long since disappeared. Who scared me to death? Vivi patted the fluctuating Su Xie with some fear. Crocodile in Seastone, Shackles is naturally not surprised by this result. Because just a day ago, he had personally experienced the power of that monster. Compared to the punch he received, it's all just pediatrics right now. But Roland's true strength is 1,000th, or even 1/10 of 10,000th. Alabasta, Princess Vivi, and the captain of the guard Igaram, so I really underestimated you. Crocodile spoke for the first time and took a deep look at Vivi and Igaram. From the frantic expression that Igaram showed from the heart just now, Crocodile concluded that Igaram must know Roland, so he regarded Roland as their helper. I'm the one who did it this time, but I really don't know where you found that monster helper. Crocodile looked at Igaram. Crocodile, that gentleman. Igaram, who was in a state of excitement, hurriedly raised his hand to cover his mouth in the middle of the sentence. Crocodile, who was curious and wanted to know Roland's identity, suddenly took a sip of old blood, and it was very uncomfortable. Crocodile, who knew that Igaram was already alert, snorted coldly and did not force it any further. At the same time. A huge underground conference room outside is still dead silent. The strongest Mr. One was killed in an instant. What exactly is this concept? All the senior agents present were in shock at the moment, unable to extricate themselves, and their eyes looking at Llewellyn were full of awe. They don't think they are weak, but none of them can see what Llewellyn did in that moment. Because it's so fast. More because it is too strong. After this battle, the senior agents present would no longer doubt Roland's strength. They will no longer question their qualifications to be their immediate boss. Because the facts are already in front of us. The strongest number one agent among them is only able to be instantly killed by one move, so what is there to question? Ji Dong. I don't know who swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty, breaking the silence in the room. Mr. One, he can't die, right? Paramesha, wax fruitability Galtino whispered, but he didn't dare to leave his seat to check for himself. Even at this moment, his entire body is stiff, which is frightening. It's a toothpick. He used a toothpick. At this moment, the she-male Bentham seemed to have discovered some shocking secret, pointed at a small toothpick in Roland's hand, and screamed. Cough cough. Daz bones coughed from the shattered walls. Falling rocks. Daz bones crawled out of the rock with difficulty, and compared to the ruthlessness of Hawkeye before, the current bald monk looked really miserable. The most terrifying wound on his body was the right arm that slashed towards Roland's head. Blood was dripping and dripping on the ground. People can even see the white bones through the opened flesh. On one side is a small toothpick. On the other side is the quick slasher whose body strength is comparable to that of steel. The contrast is staggering. Steel, with just a toothpick, Galtino and other senior agents shuddered. Boss in front of them is not Shichibukai, it may be more terrifying than Shichibukai Crocodile. Daz Bones, whose arm was almost cut off, pulled a quick white cloth and casually bandaged the wound. He returned calmly. Instead of sitting down, he bowed deeply towards Llewellyn. This attitude has already shown his intentions and surrender. Boss. President. Boss mighty. Rainbow fart from Mr. 3 Galtino. The president is so handsome. I want to give birth to a monkey for the president. Bold confession from Nympho Miss Valentine's Day. ... With Daz Bones in front, other senior Bakuro agents immediately followed suit, not daring to question Roland's identity as the president. Vivi in the Chamber of Secrets jumped with joy at the result, as it meant that the source of their alabasta threat had disappeared. Igaram looked at Roland with even more adoration and fanaticism in his eyes. Crocodile didn't spurt any more blood now. Although he was very uncomfortable, he had already expected this result, and it would not be too surprising. At the conference table, Robin, who was dressed as a secretary with black silk and stood beside Luo Lin, twitched at the corners of his mouth, just about to say something. The next moment, Luo Lin stood up, attracting everyone's attention. The words that followed immediately made Robin and other senior agents in the conference room, Vivi, Igaram, and Crocodile in the encryption room, all stunned and their eyes dropped. Your previous suspicions are correct, I am indeed not your boss. Luo Lin said calmly. Chapter 29 The Power of Leaders. Be open and honest. Your previous suspicions are correct, I am indeed not your boss. When Luo Lin's calm words sounded, the rainbow farts and cheers of the senior Bakuro agents stopped abruptly. Mr. 1 Daz Bones froze before he could lift his head down. Candle 3 Galtino's long face, which was already like a horse's face, was further elongated, and his chin almost touched the ground. Mr. 2 fell to the ground in a ballet pose. Agent 5 Gem's eyeballs bounced off his glasses again. The world here seems to have been pressed the pause button again. Even Robin, with his mouth wide open at the moment, was so shocked by Luo Lin's sudden confession, that he couldn't say a word. Hey, Igaram, why did Brother Roland do this? Didn't he want to subdue Bakuro? Vivi in the secret room lightly parted his red lips and murmured inexplicably. HMPH, what an idiot. You can easily subdue those idiots by exploiting Kuro's loopholes. Why do you think that these guys are still obedient? They are my senior agents. Crocodile sneered proudly. Pop. The next moment, Crocodile only felt a pain in the back of his head. That was Igaram waving his big fan-like hand and making a close contact with the back of his head. Bastard, what are you doing? Crocodile snapped. Nothing. Igaram wiped his hands casually. I just want to remind you that when you have this idea, you are already doomed to be unable to follow in the footsteps of that gentleman for the rest of your life. The pattern is too small. Appearance. Looking at Igaram's demeanor, Crocodile couldn't help his eyelids twitching wildly, and he wanted to vomit blood again. I'm too small. Lao Tzu's goal is One Piece, King of Pirates, bastard. Crocodile growled inwardly. At the same time, in the outside conference room, time passed again. Boss, please don't make this joke with us, it's not fun. Miss Valentine pouted her lips with a pitiful look. After all, she had just imagined a bright future of living and working with the handsome boss in the future. Boss, we can't pretend we didn't hear what you said. Candle 3 Galtino put down the black teacup in his hand. Am I not clear enough? Roland smiled. Actually, not only am I not your president, but the rain that destroyed your 3-year plan yesterday was also caused by me, and even the real President Shichibukai Crocodile you guessed has been caught by me. Having said that, Luo Lin clapped his hands in the direction of the video phone bug. A minute later, Igaram appeared with Crocodile tied into a dumpling, followed by a nervous Vivi. Miss Wednesday and Mr. 8, why are you two here? Recognized Vivi's identities in the organization immediately exclaimed. No, they seem to be the Princess Vivi of the royal family and the captain of the guard Igaram. Mr. 2 Bentham, who had sneaked into the palace before, tilted his head. What? The old mole man and other senior agents suddenly changed their expressions. What do you mean? Are you calling us together for a meeting, all for the purpose of playing tricks on us? Or do you want to take this opportunity to wipe us out? Candle 3 Galtino asked. Under his reminder, all the senior agents reacted and entered a state of battle one after another, and the atmosphere in the field suddenly became tense. Wow! Conqueror Hawkeye surged out of Luo Lin like a turbulent tide, and instantly squeezed the entire underground space, causing all the senior agents to stop breathing and look horrified. Under the shock of that breath, they couldn't give birth to the slightest sense of confrontation. In addition, under that powerful Hawkeye deterrence, there is another power that cannot be described in words. Except for Crocodile, no one could feel it. And the reason Crocodile can feel it is entirely because he has felt it once on One Piece, King of Pirates Gul D. Roger. This is the power of a leader. The once young and vigorous he was almost fooled by Roger to board the ship as an intern, or the one behind the stupid red nose. Just as Crocodile was recalling the past in shock, Roland continued to speak. It's true that I wasn't your boss a day ago, but from now on, I'm Ba Kuro, no, the president of this new organization. As for your stay, it's up to you to decide. Those who are willing to stay will let go of the past and start over after asking the royal family to sin. If you don't want to, I will not be embarrassed, but you will never be allowed to step into this country again. Please don't let me find out that you are still doing bad things. Whether it was before or now. Rollins has never changed. There was never sand in his eyes. It's true that Agent Kuro has never seen the true face of the boss, and with a little shock and deterrence, he can control the organization more easily. But Rollins didn't like it. Moreover, if this is the case, the essence of Baroque Works as a criminal company will not change. More troubles will follow. It would be better to be open and honest at one time now. As for whether these senior Pakistani Kuro agents will go against the water or run away, that was not in Luo Lin's consideration at all. Although their abilities are good, their hard power is not to mention compared with the monsters in the New World. In the first half of the park, there are countless people who can hang and beat them. For such small shrimps, it doesn't matter if there is one more or one less. In Luo Lin's plan, his organization is going to take the high-end elite route. The strength of the cadres must be at least 300 million in reward. The huge underground conference room fell silent as Luo Lin's voice fell. Ba Kuro agents frowned and thought deeply. After a while, someone raised their hand and took the lead in making a decision. Chapter 30 No one can escape the true fragrance law. I want to stay. Just a moment later, Miss Valentine was the first to raise her hand without hesitation. For Miss Valentine's Day, whose beauty is justice, Luo Lin is obviously 100 times better than Crocodile, who has no image and is captured at the moment. Then, I'm not leaving either, I'm used to it. Little lowly Mary Ann raised her hand and spoke weakly. Although it's good to be a cafe boss, but I always feel that following you will make life more interesting in the future, boss. Miss pointed Zala and saluted Luo Lin with a smile. I suddenly felt that following the current boss has a much brighter future than the previous boss, and the pattern is different. You think, the previous boss did everything secretly. We don't even know who he is. It's like the current boss, saying everything. It's clear enough, refreshing enough, hockey enough. Candle 3 Galtino opened his mouth and patted a rainbow fart without a trace. In this regard, Roland is comfortable. But Crocodile was troubled again, and only felt that the heart was pricked by a needle. Damn Mr. 3, you didn't say that before. Crocodile gritted his teeth. The slave family also feels this way. My heart is pounding ... Bentham rarely refuted the words of the old enemy 3, and echoed. Boss. Mr. 1 Das Bones still just bowed coolly to Roland, and was convinced. Even you. Crocodile gritted his teeth harder. Even Das Bones, who he valued most, is against the water, and Crocodile is again worried. Well, regardless of this boss or that boss, it's the first time I've seen it, so it's not bad, and the young boss is 100 times better than someone hockey, don't you think? Mr. 4 Inches. Yes, Mr. 4 nodded stiffly. Crocodile Heart X3. After Roland's frank disclosure, none of the 9 senior agents of Baroque Works chose to leave, and all surrendered. Compared to many previous suspicions, this time, it was true heartfelt conviction. No more dissatisfaction or doubt. It turns out that, Uncle, you were really. Seeing this scene, Robin shook his head with a wry smile, deeply aware of the gap between himself and Roland. It seems that it is necessary for me to improve myself and be a qualified helper by my uncle's side. No, Secretary, Robin blushed slightly. Brother Luo Ling, he is really handsome. Vivi's face was no longer nervous, and his eyes were full of small stars when he looked at Luo Lin. Crack. Crocodile, who had already been pierced by his former subordinates, was slapped on the back of the head again. See, Sand Crocodile, this is the insurmountable gap between you and Mr. Roland. Crocodile, who reacted with hindsight, was emotional, and finally rolled his eyes, completely fainted. Ha ha ha. In the underground conference room, people laughed cheerfully. Not only Igaram, but also senior agents such as Galtino and Bentham. The next day, Roland was woken up by the hurried knock on the door by little girl Vivi. Before Roland could speak, Vivi hugged him tightly. Thank you, Brother Roland, for all you did for me. I don't even know how to repay you, woo woo woo. Vivi hugged Roland and cried with emotion. What that guy didn't know thought that Roland did to this underage girl last night. As for the source of Vivi's moving, it was naturally the repentance of the members of the newborn Kuro organization to her and the country last night. While those repentances and assurances cannot undo the damage they have done to this country, they are significant. Just when Vivi hugged Luo Lin and cried, Robin, who was still dressed as a secretary with black silk, knocked on the door. Well, did I come at the wrong time? Robin pursed his lips, his face a little tasteful. No, it's just right. Roland replied. Little Vivi, I'll talk about it later, I'll take you to play, fun, now. Roland's mysterious issue. 10 minutes later. The prison cell where Crocodile is located. Give up, I will never be like those spineless idiots, I will put my words here today. I, Crocodile, risk my Shichibukai reputation and will never be your subordinate. Crocodile spoke firmly, shaking his legs. Pop. The back of his head was hit again. And this time it was much heavier than the previous ones combined, and it hit him with gold stars. Little Crocodile, please take your stand, you are a prisoner now. Roland slapped the arrogant crocodile back to its original shape. After a long while, Crocodile, who had come over, grieved Isho again, and said, I lost this time. Come on, kill or stab at your own discretion, just let me surrender, there is no door. Even as a prisoner, Shichibukai Crocodile still maintains his last dignity. To kill or not to kill, I'm here today just to ask you a question. Luo Lin said with great interest. What doubt? Crocodile was instinctively alert. I have a friend who is a ladyboy with hormone fruit ability. Sure enough, when Luo Lin's Have a Friend series opened, Crocodile couldn't help but groan in his heart, and his complexion changed greatly. Don't ask, I won't tell. Crocodile flatly declined. Okay, Roland didn't insist. Just when Crocodile was relieved, Roland spoke again. Since you don't say anything, then I'll see it for myself. Don't worry, there's no pain, it'll be fine soon. What are you going to do? I warn you, don't come here. Ah. Looking at the smiling Roland, Crocodile immediately fell into a great panic and began to struggle violently. Stop, I surrender, I apologize. Facts have proved that even in the pirate world, the true fragrance law invented by the famous philosopher Wang Jing's is still valid. No matter who it is, even a hard bone like the sand crocodile can't escape. Too late even if the sand crocodile is really fragrant. Roland's big hand had already landed on his forehead. Mind-reading observation Hawkeye activates another special ability, memory reading. Chapter 31 The reason why Sand Crocodile is not interested in women has been found. 5/5. Observation Hawkeye who can read people's hearts. This kind of special observation Hawkeye cannot be obtained by acquired practice, but only by nature. The probability of being born with mind-reading observation Hawkeye is not much higher than listening to the voice of all things, or leader power. So far, in this world, there is only one person Roland knew in his memory who was born to awaken this kind of observation Hawkeye. Of course it wasn't Roland himself. After all, he is a transmigrator. Observation Hawkeye that Roland has learned now comes from that person. The strongest Lone Ranger in the sea in the last era, the lonely Red Earl Patrick Redfield. A fierce man who is enough to keep pace with Whitebeard and Roger by just relying on the strength of one person. More than 40 years ago, Roland met the Red the Aloof by chance on the sea, and fought with him for 3 days and 3 nights. During this period, out of curiosity about Roland's bug constitution, Redfield tried to read all of Roland's experiences with his special mind-reading observation Hawkeye. The result, of course, doesn't work. After all, if you let others read your traverser's identity and read the secrets of the system casually, that's fine. The final result was that the Red Earl, who tried to read Roland's secret, was stunned by the system's backlash. And Roland also won the mind-reading observation Hawkeye buff for this attempt. This ability also provided Luo Lin with great convenience. Crocodile, who has a tough mouth and hard bones, Roland can check the secrets he doesn't want to tell by himself. Even forced him to really fragrant. It was only a short while before and after, and Luo Lin's eyes flashed like a revolving light through Crocodile's 40 years of experience. He knew everything about Crocodile. A secret between him and the Shemale King Ivankov when he was young, and another one that is even more powerful. The mystery of Shichibukai Crocodile's life experience. It's really interesting. Roland withdrew the hand that was on Crocodile's head, and the corner of his mouth raised a subtle arc. Hoo 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 hoo. Crocodile's breath was heavy and hoarse like a broken bellows. Bean-sized beads of sweat fell from his forehead. In the brief moment before, he could clearly feel that all his past had been understood. Indeed, this memory reading did no harm to his body. But it was a huge burden on his spirit. Shame, feeling of being known by others, Crocodile was flustered for a while. Uncle, what is the secret of Crocodile that you want to know? Robin, who knew that Roland had finished reading his mind, asked curiously. Don't say it. Don't say it, either this or that. Crocodile, who had been panting for breath and couldn't raise his head a second ago, suddenly shouted loudly. Well, I think about it. For Crocodile's threat of protest, Roland naturally wouldn't care at all. I finally know why this guy is not interested in women now. Luo Lin started politely. Isn't it because his surname is incompetent? With Crocodile for more than 4 years, immediately took over. As a woman, Robin is very clear about her own charm. Even if every boss she worked for in the past was able to control it at first, it would eventually reveal itself. This is one of the reasons why she keeps betrayed. However, in the 4 years of working with Crocodile, this Shichibukai has not once expressed any other thoughts about her. At first Robin thought it was Crocodile's heroic temperament and wouldn't move himself until the collaboration was complete. However, Robin later discovered that this seems to be not easy. Crocodile seemed to have absolutely no interest in any of the women. Over time, the idea that Crocodile might be incompetent in that respect has taken root in Robin's mind and is now blurted out. Nicole Robin, crunch. Crocodile gritted his teeth. Even Roland was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Then he must like men. Princess Vivi raised her hand to speak. The room was silent. Vivi, who noticed the gazes of the other 3, bowed his head embarrassedly, and whispered, "This is all from the book." Robin, "Oh, it's possible." Crocodile, crunch. Roland, "What kind of books does this little girl read on weekdays?" "Don't guess, the truth is." Roland decided to reveal the truth. Shut up, I beg you to stop talking, as long as you help me keep this secret and let me do anything. Crocodile gave it up completely. In order not to let others know the secret that is enough to cause his own social death, he even sells it himself. Roar. Roland raised his eyebrows unexpectedly. Since you surrender, then, let's apologize to little girl Vivi first. Luo Lin ordered. Princess Vivi, I'm sorry, I sincerely thank you for what I have done in the past 3 years. Crocodile lowered his proud head without the slightest hesitation, and made a 3-minute confession to Vivi, which made Vivi stunned for a moment. After waiting to react, his eyes widened and he hugged Luo Lin again in a moved way. Pata. Pata. After the confession and apology, Roland opened the seastone shackles on Crocodile and set him free. You just set me free so easily, aren't you afraid that I will suddenly stab you in the back? Being freed, Crocodile stammered again. It's just you. No way, Roland sneered. Crocodile couldn't help but blushed. Of course, as a man, you can't say no, but if your opponent is Luo Lin, that's really no good. Robin, prepare to arrange the first meeting of the organization. Chapter 32 Feet Organization Open Black Lens Bracket 1000 Flowers plus more Close Black Lens Bracket. 3 days later. Pyramid Casino Rain Banquet, conference room on the ground floor. The first meeting of the new organization with Luo Lin as the boss was held. There were 14 participants including Luo Lin, President Roland, Vice President Robin, 10 members of the Sand Squad headed by Crocodile, plus Alabasta Princess Vivi and Kingdom Guard Captain Igaram. 8 in the morning. All 12 attendees except Roland and Robin were present. At the conference table, the atmosphere is quiet. Knowing that the former boss Crocodile is now really fragrant, the senior agents who have become their colleagues are naturally no longer surprised by his presence. On the contrary, everyone felt a sense of excitement in their hearts. The powerful former boss, coupled with the more and more powerful current boss, join forces, and the future of their new organization is limitless. Perhaps it is really possible to stand on the stage of the world and no longer remain in the corner. That's far more majestic than just taking an Alabasta. Daz Bones, Galtino and others unconsciously fantasized about the bright future in their hearts. 5 minutes later, Roland arrived. Crocodile immediately stood up to greet him. Roland waved his hand and motioned everyone to sit down. There is no official opening remarks. Roland just waved his hand. Immediately after, wearing a black silk high-heeled skirt, Robin, who was full of secretary breath, got up and distributed the materials prepared during the 3 days to everyone present. Missile Sunday, I don't read much, so you can't understand this. Shemale Bentham said proudly. If you don't understand, just shut up and sit down obediently. Just listen to the president and the others. Candle 3 Galtino said. Robin ignored their gags and started giving a speech. As you can see, from today onwards, our original Baroque Works has officially changed its name to World Shipping Works, and our new organization is called WA. Robin presses a control button. There was only a click, and the lights in the conference room turned off, followed by a huge WA projected on the wall. This is the force that Luo Lin is going to form, the WA organization. Clap 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 clap. The crowd applauded fiercely. Crocodile's eyelids twitched. It felt like the child he had worked so hard to raise had someone else's surname, and he felt a little pain in his heart, but he still had to applaud. In the past, Baroque Works was a criminal secret work agency, but this will change from now on. We will get the support from the Alabasta royal family and officially come to the light. Everyone's eyes turned to Vivi and Igaram. Vivi was a little bewildered, and just hummed a few times in a row. About this matter, Vivi and I will go back to the palace tomorrow to report to Cobra. I believe that if Cobra knows that Mr. Roland has established this force, he will definitely support it with all his strength. I dare to guarantee this. Igaram stood up and made a speech without any stage fright. Robin nodded, motioned him to sit down, and turned to the second page of the plan. Wow! After seeing the map of the base city on the second page, there was an uproar in the conference room. This is too luxurious, Miss Valentine exclaimed. The arc-shaped bay, the headquarters building of the work club, the martial arts field, the training field. Why is there an inexplicable sense of familiarity? Candle 3 asked in surprise. Hey, isn't this a replica of Marine's headquarters? Crocodile's eyes widened, and he exclaimed in shock. As a result, the other people finally knew the source of that familiar feeling, and they were instantly amazed. What, have an opinion? Roland looked at Crocodile. No, Crocodile shrugged cowardly. As for the construction of the base city, it will be decided when the president and the others go to the palace to meet King Cobra tomorrow. You don't need to worry, just let your subordinates prepare it. The next thing is about the business of the World Shipping Agency on the bright side. At present, the tentative business of the work agency is mainly foreign trade, obtaining qualifications for maritime trade between islands and so on. I have written the specific situation in the plan, and you can study it carefully after you go back. And then there's the question of how to expand the reach of our work community. Missile Sunday, this doesn't seem to be a problem at all. Does anyone outside the reputation of our Baroque Works know? Miss Valentine raised her hand to speak. Rejected, please take back your arrogant thoughts. I have deliberately collected information about the underground dark world of the New World these days. Compared with those behemoths, the previous Baroque Works Club was not even a third-rate force, and the specific report was also it's already in your hands to have a look. Robin said mercilessly. Then, Crocodile's heart began to ache again. The faces of the other senior agents were also not good-looking, and both shock and disbelief coexisted. Shock is shock at the strength of other forces. It is unbelievable that they say that the organization under the leadership of Shichibukai Crocodile is so weak. If you want to compete with the top forces in the dark world, the most important thing is to improve the overall strength of the work club. There is nothing I can do about this. Maybe only the president. Robin's eyes fell on Luo Lin, who seemed to be listening carefully, but his mind had already been distracted. Therefore, everyone's hopeful eyes focused on Luo Lin. Luo Lin came back to his senses and blurted out, "Go to East Blue for a walk." Everyone was stunned. East Blue, Robin repeated softly, and immediately seemed to understand something, and immediately showed a happy expression. I see. Peas. Regarding the name of the protagonist organization, the author has been thinking about it for a long time. There are, Luo's organization, named after the surname Too Shame to Cross Out, and the Shao organization, that uses Hokage, suspicion of plagiarism as crossed out, and finally used, Wa, organization, everyone can think of the specific meaning. If readers have any better ideas, they can leave a message in the book review and make changes as appropriate. Finally, ask for free flowers and evaluation tickets in everyone's hands. Chapter 33 Thinking Robin. They already understood everything the president meant. Ever since he witnessed the scene of Roland subduing a group of senior agents that night, Robin has made up his mind to improve himself. Determined to be a female secretary worthy of Luo Lin. Now is the time to show yourself. Robin, who consciously guessed Roland's intentions, was suddenly full of pride and confidence. Rollins. What did this little girl understand by herself? Do you understand a hammer? Missile Sunday, then you should talk quickly. Shimail Xiaofeng urged. At the moment, the comprehensive strength of our work club, excluding the president, is far from being comparable to those of the top forces in the world. For this reason, we must strengthen our strength as soon as possible. East Blue is the best place for us to expand our reputation and secretly strengthen our strength. Robin said. Rollins. He just walked away casually. Thinking that the Alabasta incident is basically over, do something that you have always wanted to do before revealing the Wa organization to the world. Example, Go to the most familiar East Blue to see the most familiar younger generations. Just thinking of this, the eyes of Robin and others came over. So Llewellyn accidentally blurted out the thought of going to East Blue in his mind. As a result, when I heard Robin's ears, it completely changed to another meaning. I have to say that Robin's little brain has a very powerful brain-enhancing ability. Although he was stunned inside, Llewellyn always maintained an unfathomable demeanor. Sensing the gaze from Robin asking for confirmation, Roland nodded. Go on. After getting Roland's affirmation, Robin's pretty smile became brighter, and his brain thinking became more and more divergent. Why East Blue? In terms of comprehensive strength and the number of strong players, East Blue is the weakest and the lowest existence in the world. Candle 3 Galtino's doubts just gave Robin a chance to use his brain. It's just East Blue. According to my investigation, South Blue, West Blue, and North Blue are now more or less infiltrated and controlled by the big forces in the New World. East Blue is the cleanest. Furthermore, our work club's scope of activities in the past 4 years has included East Blue. As for East Blue, we have enough information to save a lot of effort. In addition, the so-called East Blue's weakest theory is defined by the number and strength of pirates, which is not rigorous in itself. Think about it, is there really no great person in East Blue? Robin asked. The crowd frowned in thought. The next moment, Chi-Chi reacted again. Yes, the One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger, who conquered the Great Route and opened the era of the Great Pirates, is from East Blue. Robin spoke first and answered. And there is Marine's legendary Vice Admiral, the hero Garp, who is also from East Blue. The probability of producing strong players is the same everywhere. East Blue is like a brand new gold mine, waiting for us to dig and discover the hidden genius in it. Quote. At this point, Robin's brain supplement is over. After hearing Robin's explanation, all the senior ballot agents suddenly realized that they were all gearing up for a big fight. As expected of our boss. The president is mighty, the #1 little fangirl Miss Valentine shouted. That's right, the boss is really awesome. How can those of us who read little can't think of it? With such a boss leading us, the future looks bright. Even becoming the first force in the sea is no longer a dream. We never even thought about it before. Bakuro agents who reacted to it kept ringing one after another. Crocodile, Crunchy. 10,000 hits in the heart. Roland. The first organizational meeting of the WA organization ended successfully in the rainbow farts of the senior agents. Galtino and others, who had been assigned various tasks by Robin, were in high spirits to gather Bakuro employees from all over the world to prepare for this East Blue expedition and trade operation. Mr. Roland, Lord Vivi, then I'll go back to Albana first and report these things to Lord Cobra. I'll be waiting for you at the palace tomorrow to welcome you. The Kingdom Guard Captain Ekolem solemnly bowed to Roland to say goodbye, then straddled the super-fast running duck and returned to the capital Albana overnight. 12 hours later. At noon the next day, Ekolem, riding a super-fast duck, returned to the capital, Albana. Captain Ekolem, you're finally back. Why haven't I been able to contact you for the past few days? What about Lord Vivi? Why didn't Lord Vivi come back with you? Falcon Bell, the deputy captain of the escort who was conducting daily reconnaissance in the air, was the first to notice Ekolem's return, and immediately rushed forward to meet him. Bell, it's just right, hurry up and inform Lord Cobra, I have something important to report when I come back this time, about the heavy rain after 3 years and another more important matter. Ekolem rode. Looking at Ekolem's solemn face, Bell realized the seriousness of the matter, and immediately turned into a falcon and flew to the palace to report. 10 minutes later. King Cobra of Alabasta, 2 vice-captains Falcon Bell and Jackal Gaka gathered in the palace hall to meet the dusty Ekolem. A few minutes later. What did you say? From the airtight palace hall, the joint exclamation of Cobra, Bell, and Gaka came out. ... Chapter 34 Cobra's shock and excitement. Open black lens bracket 2/5 ask for votes close black lens bracket. What did you say? Igaram, you and Vivi disappeared from time to time in the past 2 years because they went undercover at Baroque Works. You guys even became intermediate agents. ... What did you say? The boss behind the secret crime company Baroque Works is Shichibukai Crocodile. ... What did you say? We Alabasta did not reign for 3 years because of Crocodile. His purpose is to take the country. ... What did you say? Crocodile was beaten into a dead dog, and the Baroque Works Club has changed hands. Now Crocodile and those high-level agents have become the subordinates of the person who brought that heavy rain, and it really won't do us Alabasta anymore. Threat. ... The screams from time to time in the main hall of the Royal Palace of Albana continued for a whole hour. Yes, Mr. Cobra, everything I said is true, and there is no falsehood. Igaram's repeated nods should be the end of this story. Bang. Pop. Boom. In the hall, the King Cobra, the 2 vice-captains Bell and Gaka, all 3 fell unconsciously to the ground. Regarding the twists and turns of the story Igaram had told before, their hearts were already overturned, and they were so shocked that they couldn't even say a word. For a long time, Cobra, Bell, and Gaka recovered from the successive shocks. Captain Igaram, I have one last question now, and that is the hero and benefactor who brought heavy rain and hope to Alabasta and saved our country, who you have so praised in your words, who is he? Is he credible, or is it possible that this is a scene the guy did with Crocodile, just to trick me into waiting, for some deeper purpose? Hearing Ba Kuro's meticulous plan to steal the country, Jackal Gaka's nerves are still tense. As the vice-captain of the escort team, his only thought is the safety of the country. That's why I asked this question, for fear that Captain Igaram was deceived by Crocodile's acting skills. What did you say? This time, it was Igaram's turn to exclaim. Not just asking, Igaram stepped forward, grabbing Gaka's collar with his big hand, with an angry look on his face. Seeing this, both Cobra and Bell's expressions changed drastically. Even Gaka was stunned. In his impression, Captain Igaram has always been the image of a smiling senior, leading them to grow up. This was the first time he had seen Igaram angry. Did he really say something wrong? Yaka, I order you to immediately retract your previous words, that gentleman. That gentleman is a real hero. Igaram shouted angrily. Igaram, have something to say. Captain Igaram, Gaka is also. With the intervention of Cobra and Bell, Igaram's head, which was bloodshot with anger, gradually calmed down. Captain Igaram, the hero you said, who is he? Is he an acquaintance of the captain? After a long while, Bell asked again. Igaram, Bell and Gaka's doubts are also my doubts. Who is the gentleman you are talking about? Listening to your words, you seem to know him very well. If so, do I know him too? People, asked King Cobra. I know, of course I know. Igaram nodded heavily. Who would that be? Cobra wondered more and more. Lord Cobra, about the identity of that gentleman, you should witness it with your own eyes. I believe it will definitely surprise you. Igaram affirmed. Time ticked by in Cobra's guess. The dusty Igaram rested for an afternoon, and when night fell, he returned to his former energy. The moon had just emerged, and the well-dressed Igaram was at the gate of the palace early, waiting eagerly. Bell and Gaka, who were also curious about the identity of the hero who saved Alabasta, also waited outside the palace gate. It was unheard of before the lord of a country squatted in front of the palace gate and waited for others. Time passed by minute. 1 hour. 2 hours. Just when Bell couldn't help but want to turn into a falcon and go to the sky to take a look, the sound of duck hooves came from the road leading to the palace. Igaram, Bell, Gaka, and Dad, you're here too. Sitting on the super-fast duck guru, the Princess Vivi who arrived first immediately waved happily. Vivi. Princess Vivi. Princess Vivi. Seeing that Vivi had returned safely, most of the hearts of the 3 of Cobra's hanging were instantly put down. Goo ha ha ha. In the next second, Belle and Gaka were immediately alert when they saw the vicious big back that appeared next to Vivi. "Little crocodile, please pay attention to your words and deeds." A third voice came from behind. Crocodile, who was walking arrogantly, had a stiff expression on his face, and withered under the stunned gazes of Cobra, Belle, and Gaka. "That crocodile. Is he really that Shichibukai?" Just as Belle and Gaka were still immersed in the huge transformation before and after Crocodile, Cobra on the steps followed Igaram's line of sight and looked further behind. Gradually, the faces of the last two people gradually emerged, and they came into Cobra's eyes. Nicole Robin. Cobra's pupils shrank suddenly, and he was the first to recognize Robin's identity and couldn't help being shocked. However, when his eyes fell on the young man beside Robin, the shock on Cobra's face instantly froze. For a split second, Cobra felt his scalp tingling and bursting, and an emotion called shock and excitement instantly occupied his whole body. You are really, Mr. Rollins." Cobra's voice trembled and murmured unconsciously. ... Chapter 35 The Past of Roland and Cobra Open Black Lens Bracket 3/5 Ask for Votes Close Black Lens Bracket. Dad, why are you still in a daze? Brother Roland is the benefactor who saved us Alabasta. It's not good to just stand outside like this. Vivi, who was the first to arrive outside the palace gate on the fast-running duck Karoo, pulled Cobra, who was unable to move because of the shock. "Lord Vivi, just let Lord Cobra stand for a while." Igaram, who had long expected Cobra's reaction, said with a smile. About 30 seconds later, when Roland and Robin walked near the steps of the palace gate, King Cobra finally recovered from the extreme shock. "Dad, what's the matter with you today?" Vivi glanced suspiciously between Cobra and Roland, always feeling that something was going on inside. "No, nothing, Vivi, it's my dad getting old. Come in quickly, come in quickly." Just like Igaram that day. Cobra, who wanted to shout excitedly, restrained himself and forced himself to remain calm. However, the waves in his eyes looking at Luo Lin could not be concealed no matter what. Vivi might not have noticed, but Robin could see clearly. Sure enough, not only the captain of the escort Igaram, and the King Cobra also know the uncle, then the time frame is roughly determined. Robin thought to himself. As for Roland's identity, Robin no longer intends to ask directly, but regards it as a puzzle-solving process. Through a little bit of clues, I finally determined Luo Lin's true identity, so I had a much more sense of accomplishment. 3 minutes later. Everyone came to the banquet hall of the palace. Igaram has already ordered a sumptuous dinner to be prepared here. As long as Luo Lin and his party arrive, the table will be opened. It's been an hour since I was full. During this period, through Vivi's elated description, coupled with the evidence of Crocodile, who is like a gas bag in a low voice. The two vice-captains Belle and Gaka finally fully believed in the shocking fact that Shichibukai Crocodile was subdued by Roland. Although they didn't know Luo Lin's identity, this feat alone was enough to make them awe-inspiring and worthy of their worship. The banquet at the table was removed. After the meal, it's natural to get to the point. A map of the Kingdom of Alabasta is laid out on the table. Robin pointed to a large open space in the southwest, and bluntly proposed that a new port city should be built here as the base of the Xinsheng Work Club. As soon as Robin's words came out, Belle and Gaka were shocked again. Yes. Cobra, whose eyes had been on the idol, nodded in agreement without hesitation, which made the two vice-captains even more shocked. Your Majesty, please think again. Because of the 3-year drought in Alabasta, the economy has been sluggish in recent years. This move is inappropriate, Garka advised. Lord Cobra, we should rest and recuperate at this time. There is really no spare energy in the country to build a port city. Even Belle expressed his right. Captain Belle and Gaka, please listen to me. The construction cost of this port-based city is entirely borne by our agency. Robin explained. Also, Belle, Rolingo said that building a port city can provide many jobs, solve the current surplus labor force in the country, and the salary incentives are absolutely generous. Vivi added. Hearing this, Belle and Gaka were also moved. I would take the liberty to ask, Miss Robin, what is your budget for building the city? Garka asked. Robin held up a finger. 100 billion. 100 billion. Belle and the two suddenly widened their eyes. It's only 100 billion, little crocodile, you have accumulated so much for so many years. Roland looked at Crocodile, who had been thinking about it. Me, at hash. Crocodile blushed and didn't want to speak. It's too little to casually take away other people's hard work for decades. You treat me as a money-printing machine. Have. Just as Crocodile slandered, Belle seemed to think of something. Lord Cobra, there are almost 20,000 people in the rebel army headed by Kosha on Catalya's side, Belle reported. Kosha. Why, it's already raining. Why are they? Vivi looked lost. After all, Kosha was her best friend when she was a child. But it was he who provoked the rebellion. Although I know the difficulties, Vivi is still uncomfortable. It's not what you think, Lord Vivi. Lord Cobra has issued a pardon order to the whole country, and most of the hundreds of thousands of rebel troops originally in Catalya have gone home. The 20,000 people, including Kosha, who are still there, think they don't deserve to be forgiven. They have been kneeling for the past 2 days to ask Lord Cobra to convict him. Lord Cobra is also troubled by it, Belle explained. I know what you mean, Belle, then pass my order, then punish Kosha and the others to help, and by the way, initiate a labor recruitment order across the country. In addition, the completion of this port city will also be of great benefit to us in Alabasta. We also need to fully support it. Let's do it now, Cobra said. Yes. Yes, Lord Cobra. Belle and Gaka, who received the order, left immediately. Vivi, you are tired from the long journey, so take Miss Robin back to your room to rest first. Okay, Dad, Vivi nodded. After a while, only Roland, Cobra and Eulogizing were left in the banquet hall. Roland, Uncle. The excitement that Cobra had been suppressing for a long time finally broke out. Cobra, you are really old, Roland said. This isn't the first time Rollins and Cobra have met. They met as far as 42 years ago, 38 years ago. Both times were when the previous King Alabasta took the young Cobra to the World Conference. 42 years ago, when Cobra was 8 years old, he had seen Roland returning from the Marine headquarters. 38 years ago, Roland was the guardian of the Alabasta royal family after the World Conference. 12-year-old Cobra once summoned up the courage to ask Roland for his autograph on the way home, which has been kept in the bedroom to this day. At the beginning, he even put forward the willful idea of becoming a soldier on the Roland ship, but of course he was rejected. Now that I think about it, it's an interesting memory. Uncle Roland, what happened 36 years ago? Where have you been in the past 36 years? Yeah, Mr. Roland, the whole year of 1484 was too weird. You, who was obviously a hero of Marine and a hero of the world, suddenly disappeared overnight, and even after that, all traces of you were silently wiped away. Except, what happened? Eulogizing finally asked the questions that had been backlogged in his mind for days. After a long silence, Luo Lin's understatement sounded. It's no big deal, it's just a fight with the world government. ... Chapter 36 Medicine for Little Girl Vivi. For the next few days, the Albana Palace was always enveloped in a pleasant atmosphere. In the secret conversation at night, Roland had a lot of chats with Cobra and Eulogizing. But most of them are about various plans for the future. In the end, both Cobra and Cobra were not able to learn what happened 36 years ago from Luo Lin's mouth. In this regard, although the two of Cobra are still very curious, they also understand the proportions. Knowing that Roland didn't tell them, he didn't want them to get involved too deeply. However, Cobra also has a mind. Maria Joy at the World Conference 2 years later. Another question about Robin. Cobra figured it out after worrying for a few days. For one thing, Robin didn't know where the historical text of Pluto was. Second, Robin is now the person next to Luo Lin, and if Luo Lin is there, then there must be no problem. Thinking of these 2 points, Cobra's vigilance about Robin's identity as the Devil's Son also dissipated, and he was no longer vigilant. Mr. Luo Lin, the first batch of construction troops of 20,000 people arrived at the target site, and the construction can officially start soon. At the dining table, Cobra looked extraordinarily high-spirited and in a good mood. Because this time, the construction of a new port city on the southwestern coast of St. Tin Island, Waisung, has greatly enhanced the cohesion of the country. Alabasta folks have also responded enthusiastically to this kind of work with clear salary and remuneration, and they have responded one after another. Everything seems to be returning to the past. And these are what Rollins brought them. Even after 36 years, even if he is no longer Marine, Roland is still their hero. No, it's even their Alabasta hero now. Thinking that Roland would take root in his country in the future, Cobra couldn't hide his excitement. The only thing Cobra was a little worried about was his baby girl. Brother Luo Ling, come and try this. This is our palace chef's specialty. I like it the most. Vivi, who was sitting on Roland's left-hand side, served Roland with vegetables without hesitation. And this, Brother Roland, this is delicious too. At this moment, he even brought the tableware he had eaten directly to Luo Lin's mouth. Vivi girl, won't. Cobra seemed to realize something, and was stunned for a while. In front of Luo Lin, his father was a nephew, but Vivi called him, brother. Cobra thought to herself, and decided to have a good chat with her daughter after the meal. Lunchtime passed quickly, and Robin was called by Robin to report on the East Blue expedition. Vivi, who was in a good mood, wanted to follow, but was stopped by Cobra. Half an hour later, when Luo Lin walked near the palace hall, he happened to hear Vivi's crying voice. Why, Dad, tell me, why is this? Is it because I'm a princess and Brother Roland is a commoner? You obviously didn't care about this before. Besides, Brother Roland is our big benefactor of Alabasta. The main hall, Vivi seemed to have been stimulated by something, and for the first time in his life, he became angry with the old father he respected. Vivi, no, it's not what you think. The reason is far more complicated than you think. Dad won't interfere with your thoughts, but only the gentleman is different. Cobra was also panicked. He originally just wanted to try his daughter casually, but this attempt turned out to be a big deal. Until now, he didn't know how to end it. To Vivi and tell him Roland's true identity. This will not work. Without Luo Lin's permission, even if it was his own daughter, Cobra did not intend to reveal it. Moreover, even if it is revealed, can Vivi really understand it and give up? To know that Vivi's temperament is exactly the same as her deceased mother, Cobra knows this best. Inside the hall, the father-daughter quarrel between Cobra and Vivi continued. There is even a growing trend. For the quarrel between their father and daughter, Luo Lin is not easy to intervene. I was about to go for a stroll elsewhere to see how the little crocodile was facing the wall. At this moment, Vivi's pained cry came from the hall. This was followed by an anxious inquiry from Cobra. Alas! Luo Lin sighed and pushed open the door of the palace. Cobra, this is your fault. Education belongs to education. How can you do it? Besides, Vivi is already the most sensible and good child at her age. Luo Lin said bitterly. For the previous noisy content between their father and daughter, Luo Lin didn't pay attention to listening, let alone read it with observation hockey. After all, he is not a gossip person, right? Crocodile would definitely object to Roland's self-knowledge. Vivi and Cobra in Ling's hall panic. No, Mr. Roland, this is. Cobra, who thought that he had been captured, was no longer a wise man, and his words became incoherent. Vivi, who fell to the ground, lowered his head and blushed. He tried to get up and tried to run away, but he almost fell again. If it wasn't for Roland to pull a hand. Well, it turned out that my foot was twisted, how could I be so careless? Roland noticed the swollen bruise on Vivi's right ankle and helped her sit down on the chair. Immediately afterwards, Vivi saw Llewellyn squatting down in front of her, and couldn't help but catch her feet. Ah! Vivi let out a coquettish cry, and reflexively wanted to pull it back, but accidentally touched the wound, and she bared her teeth in pain. You hurt your bones, Miss Vivi, you are too careless. Llewellyn said like a professional doctor. Vivi, who was caught by Llewellyn's big hand, bowed his head and said nothing. But don't be afraid, I have medicine here, and you will be alive and kicking right away. Llewellyn said that he took off Vivi's high heels, revealing the crystal-clear feet wrapped in them. Immediately afterwards, he took out a flat jar from his pocket. Open. Inside is a white paste with a little red in it. Roland took some at random and spread it evenly on Vivi's injured instep. Result, the blush on Vivi's face deepened. She wanted to escape, but found that Llewellyn's hands were holding her little feet so strongly that she couldn't resist at all. After Llewellyn's treatment was completed, Vivi hurriedly retracted her feet, quickly put on her shoes, and ran away again. However, after just 2 steps, Vivi stopped. Looking down at his right foot, he found that the previous swelling like a steamed bun had disappeared. Hey brother Roland, what the hell is going on? What kind of ointment did you rub it on for me, and it healed so quickly, it didn't hurt at all? Vivi's inner curiosity overwhelmed his shyness, and he hurriedly approached Llewellyn, his big eyes sparkling, and the adoration inside became more and more. Not only Vivi, but also Cobra's eyes widened in shock at this miraculous scene. Mr. Roland, what kind of trauma ointment are you? It's so magical. If it can be mass-produced, it must be. Hearing Cobra say the word, mass production, Roland choked for a moment. Is this thing energy-produced? It's easy to say, and I don't even think about what the main raw materials are. This thing, it is enough to use it among your own people. Just when Roland was thinking about how to get over this topic, Robin appeared. President, the preparations for this expedition to East Blue have been completed, and we can leave at any time. Robin, dressed in professional black silk and a short skirt, pushed his glasses and reported. Chapter 37 Swimming in the Windless Belt Awakening the Power of the Sea King. Just go. Now that the preparations are complete, let's go now. Resolute and resolute is also one of Llewellyn's consistent styles. 3 in the afternoon. 30 trading ships headed by the Gustav, a fleet of more than 2,000 people, assembled on the coast. When the President Llewellyn and his party boarded the ship, they gave an order. The trade fleet, loaded with Alabasta's perfumes, spices, furs and other local products, set off for East Blue. Because of the official banner of the Alabasta royal family, it was not until 3 days later that Captain Tina, the captain of Marine Base in the waters of St. Trin Island, finally discovered the unusualness of this ordinary fleet. Appears to be a legal trade ship signed by the royal family, but in reality, the crew of the fleet is the Baroque Works, a secret crime company. Boss that had been hidden for 6 years was finally revealed for the first time. Shichibukai Crocodile, you are the one behind the scenes. Colonel Tina, a beautiful woman with long soft pink hair, extinguished the lady's cigarette in her mouth and reported the discovery to the Marine headquarters as soon as possible. Marine headquarters Marineford. Soon, the news was sent to Marshal Sengoku. Secret crime company, Baroque Works as Crocodile's business. Sengoku frowned at the report on the paper. Shichibukai is still a pirate after all, not to mention an ambitious person like Crocodile. I said how could he suddenly change his temper and want to be a hero, and he is still doing all kinds of evil behind his back. Sengoku scolded. It's just that they have been hiding for so many years. Why did they suddenly reveal their identity? What kind of medicine is sold in that sand crocodile's gourd? Chief Marine, Suru Vice Admiral, who was always young for some reason, muttered to himself in confusion. I don't care what medicine he sells. I just want to know that he took the fleet to East Blue. Could it be that he wants to take this opportunity to loot the entire East Blue? I'm not afraid that Garp won't kill him if he finds out. Let's get rid of it first. If the Garp guy goes, it will only make things more complicated. Vice Admiral Crane mused. Crocodile, let Tina keep an eye on it. Besides, East Blue Logatown doesn't have that kid, Smoker. That kid is good, but he is too impetuous, so he was transferred. This time, it just gives him a chance to return to the headquarters. Quote. Then do as you say. Sengoku nodded in agreement. At the same time, Luolin and his party, who had been at sea for 3 days, also encountered the first problem at this moment. In other words, this problem was originally proposed by Roland. Gudong. Gu-dong. On the main ship Gustav, Galtino, Bentham and others all swallowed their saliva with difficulty unconsciously. President, are you really sure that we're going to never take the wind? It's too risky. Miss gave Zala a reluctant smile with her fingers and Zala's pretty face, obviously also frightened. At the same time, she finally knew why the flight route for the past 3 days was so straight. We've already come here, do you have any questions? Roland asked calmly. Brother Luo Ling, although I haven't been to the windless zone, I have heard many people say that it is the lair of large sea kings and the graveyard of ships. The probability of successfully crossing the windless zone is 1 in 100. Why don't we go the other way here according to Sister Robin's plan? Vivi, who had come with Cobra's permission, spoke weakly. Galtino and the others all echoed and nodded. Rarely, however, Crocodile was different this time around. You can go. Crocodile affirmed. Although he didn't want to recall it, he, who had played against Roland before, knew best about Roland's ultimate conqueror Hawkeye. It is true that the windless belt is almost a dead place for ordinary people. But for the powerhouses in the sea, especially the masters of Conqueror Hawkeye, it's not a problem at all. Under the shock of Conqueror Hawkeye, even the sea kings in the windless belt will not take the initiative to provoke the strong among humans. If he leads the team by himself on weekdays, Crocodile will definitely not take the windless belt. But this time since Roland was there would be no problem. Even Crocodile agreed, and everyone had to bite the bullet. After a while, the fleet headed by the Gustav all sailed into the windless belt. Without the help of the wind, sails are useless. If you want to sail in the windless zone, you can only rely on manual paddling, but the speed is not very fast. The employees of the work club rowed the boat for 3 hours with anxiety, and never a single sea king appeared to attack. Occasionally, the sea kings who came out to the sea to take a breath saw their fleet, but they did not attack, but ran away at the first time. This bizarre phenomenon made all the ordinary employees confused. But it would be better if there was no danger. The ordinary employees of the fleet were relieved, but the senior agents such as Crocodile on the main ship at the front were troubled again. Because their president is going to make trouble again. Stop here for a while and I'll go down for a swim. Luo Lin took off his shirt as he spoke, revealing his perfectly muscular body. What? Swimming. In the windless belt. Swimming in the windless zone. Don't play with us, boss. Boss, be steady. Robin and the others, who were still in a state of shock and stupefaction, had not yet reacted. In the depths of the sea that cannot be penetrated by the naked eye, Luo Lin is like an elf in the sea, diving flexibly and at an extremely fast speed. Of course, Roland wasn't so bored that he deliberately went for a swim in the middle of the windless belt to keep fit. Swimming is just a rhetoric. The fundamental purpose of Luo Lin, who was diving into the deep sea at this moment, was to test an ability. A power awakened by Roland during a deep dive over 40 years ago. Aquaman, the power of Poseidon. Chapter 38 discovered Hawkeye's little secret open black lens bracket 1/5 asking for votes close black lens bracket. In the distant past, Luo Lin, who ate 2 devil fruits at the same time and did not die, aimed his death at the sea. Since a person can't eat the curse of 2 devil fruits at the same time to not kill himself, then try another curse of devil fruits. So, Roland went to sea. The energy emanating from the sea really made Luo Lin, who was a dual fruit capable person, completely powerless. His head was dizzy, and he sank into the seabed like this, drifting with the current. I don't know how long, hours or days have passed. Roland, who was drifting in the depths of the sea, woke up. After waking up, he has fully adapted to life in the water. Like Fishman, it can breathe freely in the water. What made Luo Lin speechless was that even the sea's curse of the land ducks on those with devil fruit abilities was invalid. Even Luo Lin became stronger through this death, and awakened the power of the Sea King Poseidon like the mermaid princess Shirahoshi. At that time, Luo Lin, who was unwilling to give up, decided to try whether the terrifying water pressure from the deep sea could make his body collapse. So he spent another day diving 10,000 meters deep with his bare hands. When the darkness faded and the warm sunlight reappeared, an island wrapped in a double-coated bubble appeared in Luo Lin's sight. So Roland, who was familiar with the plot, knew that he had come to Fishman Island. This long-term memory about the deep dive of 10,000 meters gradually recovered and became clear with Luo Lin's dive again. Roland suddenly remembered that before entering Fishman Island that day, he had also shot and sank a pirate ship of a mermaid dealer who had sneaked out of Fishman Island, and rescued a large number of mermaid girls. Who is in there? Oh yes, there seems to be a future queen of Fishman Island, Ottoheim, and a young fish named Kokura, hopefully not the one in the capital of water. Fishman boy who took the initiative to sneak into the mermaid dealership and was caught, Tiger. Luo Lin can't remember more names. Tiger and Otahime. In the deep sea, Luo Lin, who had closed his eyes and recalled the past, suddenly opened his eyes. The past is in the past and cannot be changed. Focus on the present now. Luo Lin was suspended in the deep sea of about 1,000 meters, trying to awaken the mysterious power hidden in the body. The power of Poseidon belonging to the ancient weapon Sea King. Well tilde 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 ah tilde tilde tilde. After a while, Luo Lin opened his mouth slightly and uttered a strange syllable. Rings of sound waves invisible to the naked eye spread rapidly through the seawater. After a few minutes of dead silence, an unusual wave suddenly sounded in the dark deep sea. Come on, here I come. Following the call, are you a contemporary mermaid princess? Lord Princess, it's been 800 years, and it's finally time for you again. Fragments of messy feedback came from all over the deep sea. Crash la la. The sea is surging. Even if he didn't need to see with his eyes, he didn't need to perceive with observation hockey. Roland knew that there were countless sea kings gathered around him. And there are more breezy sea kings running on the road. Almost all arrived, the efficiency is good. Luo Lin nodded with satisfaction. However, the sea kings were collectively stunned. Even in the dark deep sea, they could clearly see the true body of Luo Lin, who released the power of Neptune's summoning. This makes it even more dumbfounded. You, what the hell are you? Are you a modern-day mermaid princess? No, you look like a man no matter what. Could it be that the power of this generation of sea kings is wrong? The mermaid princess has become a mermaid prince. That's not right. Male mermaids won't turn out their feet even if they're over 30. Then it's still a mermaid princess. Although she looks a little more masculine and has a flat front, she must not have a handle on the bottom. ... The super-large sea kings closest to Roland had a heated discussion. Through the power of the Sea King, I can understand the Luo Lin they discussed. Anger.jpg D-filled lower right triangle. Are you guys the Sea Kings or the village gossip brigade? Why does the mind jump like that? It seems that I need to teach you guys a lesson. Roland started to move his muscles while thinking. Get ready for class. ... The other side. Kuro Fleet at sea. It has been half an hour since Roland went swimming in the sea. However, except for the wave that Luo Lin launched into the water at first, there were no waves in the windless sea. Gudong, it's been half an hour, the boss hasn't come back yet. Candle 3 Galtino slapped Hanako unconsciously. The boss won't be attacked by the Sea Kings, will he be eaten? The old mole man looked terrified. Shut up, old woman, how can such a powerful boss be afraid of a mere Sea King? Bentham refuted loudly, and then whispered, but the group's words are uncertain. Then what do we do next? Continue to wait or go, someone said. The crowd was silent. Go. How to go? They are now in the middle of the windless belt. If you move around casually, the Sea Kings will find it and swallow it whole. A soldier goes to the battlefield and flees, sooner or later he will die. Crocodile scolded. Don't worry everyone, let me tell you, the president has the blood of fish man, even if it stays in the water for a day. It doesn't matter, you see that we have not been attacked by the Sea Kings so far, which means that the president's shock is still there, so don't worry. At the critical moment, Robin stood up, and a few words completely stabilized the military. Sister Robin, does Brother Roland really have the fish man bloodline? Vivi asked quietly while everyone was not paying attention. In this regard, Robin just pursed his lips and did not answer. Of course this is impossible. Now all they can do is believe in Luo Lin and continue to wait. Waiting is a boring thing. Another half hour passed, and Luo Lin still hadn't come back. The bored ballot agents began to have their own fun. Oh ha ha ha. At this moment, Miss Valentine, who was occupying the observation deck of the Gustav, suddenly let out an exaggerated laugh. Everyone, come and see, over there. There is someone sitting in a coffin over there. What's even more funny is that he is rowing a boat with a knife. Ha 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 ha, it's so funny. Miss Valentine laughed. What? There's still such a thing. I'll take a look at it, too. Xiao Feng, the ladyboy who wanted to join in the fun, was the first to jump onto the observation deck. Moments later, Bentham laughs and rolls all over the floor. Ha 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 ha, it's true, it really made me laugh. This time, the others were also intrigued by their laughter. Wanting to see what kind of picture made them roll all over the floor laughing. A lookout mirror, and everyone looks at the direction of Miss Valentine's Day. Waiting to see the picture thousands of meters away, someone laughed like Miss Valentine's Day. However, a few people such as Crocodile and Robin couldn't help but change their faces. A bunch of idiots, they all shut up for Lao Su, that bastard is the world's #1 swordsman Mahak. Crocodile yelled. Chapter 39 The Slash of the World's Greatest Swordsman. A bunch of idiots, still laughing and laughing, they all shut up for Lao Su. How could Lao Su be blind and recruit your subordinates in the first place? Crocodile's complexion immediately changed after seeing the coffin ship that was on fire thousands of meters away through the observation glass. Especially when he heard that his former subordinates were still sparing no effort to laugh loudly, he couldn't help but yell angrily. Hearing Crocodile's abnormal reaction, the senior agents who were originally happy because of the scene over there were all taken aback. What's wrong? Is it okay to laugh at Isho? Why is there such a big fire all of a sudden? Miss Valentine whispered. That's right, even if it was in the past, you are no longer our boss now, everyone is a colleague. Shemale Xiaofeng also said. Crunch. The veins on Crocodile's forehead jumped wildly. Idiots, open your eyes and take a good look, who is that person? Crocodile was furious. That man is Hawkeye Mahak. Crocodile's expression was rare and solemn, and he opened his mouth faintly. What? Candle 3 Galtino shouted in shock, and quickly raised the observation glass to take a closer look, and then his expression was completely sluggish. That person is. It's actually a Hawkeye Mahak. The old mole man yelled in horror. Sorry, Mr. Forbibu, as always, only knows to apologize, regardless of whether the other party can hear it or not. How can someone who has the guts to cross the windless belt alone be an ordinary person? But I didn't expect that he would be the legendary world's #1 swordsman. Fine beads of sweat appeared on Zala's forehead, and she was one of the few people who didn't laugh out loud just now. The world's #1 great swordsman, Hawkeye Mahawk. I finally saw it. Daz Bones, who has the ability to cut fruit quickly, has cold arms, as sharp as blades. With the ability to cut fruit quickly, he is known as the swordsman's nemesis, and he kind of wants to try the sword of the world's #1 swordsman. Let's get rid of it, Mr. One, he will die. Crocodile reminded kindly. This is the first time I've seen Shichibukai other than Little Karak. Although the bosses ain't here now, with Little Karak there, it should be fine. Going Joe blinked and looked at Crocodile. Hee hee. Crocodile twitched the corners of his mouth, independent of the mast, did not reply, just quietly looked at Mahawk, who was thousands of meters away. Crocodile is of course not eagle-eyed if it is to change a place to fight alone on weekdays. Even if the opponent is the world's #1 swordsman. But now it's more embarrassing. First of all, he is not alone. He has a family, and Baroque Works has spent 4 years of business here. Secondly, here is the middle of the sea with no wind, and there is not much room for his logia rustling fruit. Across thousands of meters, he couldn't send the attack to Hawkeye. On the contrary, the other side is different. For a great swordsman like Hawkeye, the attack distance is not a problem at all. Even though he was separated by thousands of meters, his powerful sword energy was still enough to reach the Kuro fleet. Under the slash of Eagle Eye, let alone an ordinary sailboat, even if it is as strong as the Gorostov, it will only be cut in two. In the middle of the windless belt, not to mention whether people will be hacked to death. If the ship is gone, there is still only a dead word left. Even Crocodile had a hard time getting out alive. After all, not everyone is Rayleigh. Now, Crocodile can only hope that when Hawkeye sees him, he will be a little more cautious and not be too impulsive. Not good. It's over. What is that big swordsman Hawkeye going to do? Do you mean to cut us from such a long distance? How can such a thing be possible? At this moment, the senior agents, who were always watching the movements of Eagle Eyes in the distance, suddenly shouted in unison, their horror beyond words. ... At this moment, on the other side, thousands of meters away, the ghost coffin ship. Wearing a black top hat with white fluff on his head, a black trench coat, and a burgundy-patterned shirt, the man with the sharp eyes of a falcon slowly raised the supremely sharp knife that was used as a rowing tool, Black Knife Knight. When the first Miss Valentine found him through the observation glass, his powerful observation hockey naturally sensed the other party's sight. Even in the windless belt, it was quite surprising that Mahawk could meet others. Although it is a bit ashamed to be seen by others, but the little girl is ignorant, so she can barely spare you. I'm not a demon after all. But what happened next went too far. What do you guys mean by watching a monkey show? Can't stand it. Can't stand it either. Even if you are just ordinary ignorant merchant ships, I will not show mercy. Anyway, if you enter the windless belt, the chances of you people surviving are already slim. There is not much difference between me giving you a ride and entering the belly of a sea king. Hawkeye Mahawk is still cold on the surface, and he has done a lot of psychological construction in his heart. At this moment, Hawkeye's sharp eyes narrowed, and he saw Crocodile on the opposite mast. It turns out that it's you, a sand crocodile. No wonder you have the courage to enter the windless belt, but this way, I will be less psychologically burdened when I chop. The corner of Hawkeye's mouth lifted a radian, no longer holding hands, and going all out. If Crocodile knew that his appearance had strengthened Hawkeye's willingness to shoot, he would definitely tremble with anger. Vertical knife becomes horizontal knife. He was about to slash all of Ba Kuro's 30 ships with one sword. Kang. There seemed to be a crisp sound of a knife between heaven and earth resounding through the sky. The wind and clouds were turbulent, and the sea surface in the windless belt was full of waves. The terrifying sword force spread out, and even the clouds in the sky cracked. Come on, Crocodile yelled angrily. The green light of the knife shone on the sea. The strongest slash from the world's greatest swordsman, here we come. Chapter 40, bringing thousands of sea kings out of the sea. Kang. The green light of the sword shone between the heavens and the earth. The shining blue sea is full of green. The light of the sword is incomparable, and the sword energy is bright. When the green light of the blade escaped from the blade of the supremely sharp blade, the black blade knight, it immediately rose against the storm. The 100-meter-long green blade light swept across the sea and slashed towards the Baroque fleet that was moored thousands of meters away, causing layers of waves. Not fast, but better than stable. Unparalleled power. Ah, I'm going to die, I'm going to die now. It's all your fault, Miss Valentine's Day. Dorothy, the old mole man, cried out in horror. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Miss Valentine, who has always been frivolous and arrogant, now holds her head in her hands and keeps apologizing in fear. Bastard, how dare you do it? Above the mast, Crocodile looked gloomy, looking at the green knife light that was constantly expanding in his pupils in shock and anger. All staff, do a good job of shock response, and follow me if you don't want to die. Crocodile ordered loudly. After saying that, his body became elemental, and he went straight to the terrifying knife light. If this is a desert, Crocodile has 100 ways to block the blade light. Too bad it's the sea. Even so, he can only get on. As Shichibukai, how can he sit still? Daz Bones, who wanted to try the eagle-eyed sword standing on the top of the swordsman, swept out after him, and stepped forward to meet him firmly. Agent number 5, Gem, the fruit-exploding powerhouse, started frantically picking his nose. Mr. 4 Bibu carried his dog cannon. Mr. 3, add 10 layers of candles to my legs. Bentham, who is a ladyboy and a real man, stood up. Crazy, don't you want your legs? Candle 3 Galtino shouted, coating Bentham's legs and hull with layers of candle walls as hard as steel. At the time of life and death, all the Xinsheng shipping workers are united. Capable output. Those who are incapable of being able to help are praying loudly. Of course, the object of their prayers is not the ethereal god, but their boss and president. President, help, Miss Valentine screamed. Brother President, if you don't come back, you will never see us again. Little Lolita Going Zhou Xiao's face was pale and pitiful. Vivi, who had never seen this battle, was so frightened that she hugged Robin beside her tightly. Even if he is calm and wise like Robin, in front of that terrifying sword light that seems to be able to cut through the sky, he is still in uncontrollable fear, and his delicate body Vivi trembles. You should come back soon. Robin hugged Vivi, closed his eyes, and cried out in his heart. Boom. It was the sea shaking violently. But it wasn't because of Hawkeye's unparalleled slash. At this moment, the windless sea surface was shaking violently, as if some behemoth was about to burst out of the sea. The 5 senior agents, Crocodile, Daz Bones, Bentham, Galtino, Beb and Gem, stopped on the left side of the boat, and their expressions shook again. What happened this time? Hawkeye's slash has not yet arrived, and there is another moth in the sea, who can withstand this? Neither does Crocodile. The next second, something under the sea broke out of the sea and revealed its true body. Not one, but a group. It was one large deep-sea sea king after another. The smallest of them is also over 300 meters, enough to easily swallow a sailboat. Lying FCK. Mr. 3 Galtino couldn't help but scream. Could it be that this has stabbed into the collective dormitory of the Sea Kings? Shimail Xiaofeng screamed strangely. No, look at the top of that Sea King's head. At this moment, Crocodile noticed the person above the head of a certain Sea King standing in front of Hawkeye's green blade light, and shouted in surprise. It's the boss, that's the boss. Bentham was surprised. Great, the president is finally back. Galtino was also relieved. When Robin, Vivi and the others heard the words, they were all excited, no longer panic, and no longer fear. As long as that person is there, all problems will be solved. Eager gazes of all Bakuro employees, Luo Lin, who was standing alone on the head of the Sea King, finally moved. Really, I'm really restless, I've only been out for a little while to get into so much trouble. Llewellyn helplessly whispered to himself, jumped down from the head of the large sea king, and went straight to the terrifying knife light that was pressing in front of him. Just right, since we met, let's try how strong the first swordsman of this era is. The voice fell. Under the anxious or tense gazes of thousands of people. Roland's flesh and blood touched the full blow of the world's greatest swordsman. In the roar. Everything is invisible. ...